Hi, everybody. Just I'm laughing a little bit because I was checking my teeth before I jumped on here, and I thought I sure hope that the thing's not playing, because that would have looked weird, right? Whoo! Thanks so much for joining us here. We're gonna get ourselves rolling. I want to just make sure that we are up and going, and then we'll get it. We'll have some conversation here and go from there. So. Checking my spot. Good. Looks like we're good to go and up and about. And so, Courtney, I hope you're on there right now. You should just go to the page, and if you're there, either text Andrea or text me just to make sure that you're there so you can get what you need out of it. So, anyway, so we are ready to roll, and I thought that tonight we're getting real close to the decision making process, which is actually going to be Monday, and I feel like we're in a pretty good spot in terms of finalizing some of the details to roll out to you on Monday. So I did want to talk to you a little bit about those and just give you a couple updates, and then where else would you really want to spend a Friday night, right? Honestly, right? I mean. Right? I could do a magic trick. We could get ourselves back invested in magic tricks if you want. Maybe Wesley could jump on it and he could do some great magic tricks. But we'll get to all this other stuff first, and then we'll see what we have time for at the end. So I did want to make a couple of announcements. So first of all, congratulations to our seniors. They'll be walking outside at our football field tomorrow for graduation. Congratulations to you. We're going to hopefully have a really special day for you, and thanks to all of our custodians and Mr. Saransky and everybody else who has just put so much into trying to get something for these kids as they walk out the door, even though it's almost August, or be August tomorrow. So thank you so much for your commitment. Seniors, thank you. We're looking forward to tomorrow. Remember, only two people per family can join us, and then we will live stream it. So thanks to Mr. Goodman for getting that all set up, and we'll have that ready to roll tomorrow. So looking forward to that. Also on Monday, we start our elementary summer school. So that'll give us a really good opportunity to test some of the things that we're thinking about in terms of bringing people in and getting them out and not bottlenecking certain areas and making sure that we can distance people. And Jody Madden has done a great job in terms of planning that. So thank you, Jody. And we're looking forward to seeing kids in the building on Monday. So I might be a little bit more excited than normal today, but we get kids in places, and it's just going to be as good as it can be, with some of the uncertainties. So that's where we're at. And those are the couple announcements that I wanted to get to. And then I do want to get to three different pieces. I want to review where we're at from the board meeting on July 20th. I want to talk about the majority of questions that I've received from people over the course of the last couple weeks have been related to the virtual piece. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then finally, we'll talk about the order that just came through from the governor yesterday and what kind of impact that has on our building, which is large. So anyway, when we were talking to the board on July 20th, we brought 5 different options to the board on July 20th, and we actually put them out there in order of the way that we felt we wanted them to roll out from that at that point, which was an on-site model. And then that was our first choice with all K-12 kids, 4K through 12 kids on site. The second model was a 4K through 8 model on site and a 9 through 12 in a blended option. The third model was a K-5 on site and a 6-8 in a blended opportunity, an AB opportunity. The fourth one was everybody blended on an AB schedule, half the kids here at a time. And then finally, the last one is an all virtual, which we weren't, obviously it was last for a reason. So yeah, after that meeting, we felt really comfortable in kind of trying to plan out what the first option would look like and the second option would look like in terms of having the K-5 kids here, the 6-8 kids here, and then the 9-12 kids split up in an A and B schedule. So half would be here and half would be remote learning for 3 days a week and on-site for 2 days a week. So that's what we were looking at, and we continue to look at that and try to get to the end point in terms of next week in terms of making a decision on that. We have run into some issues when it comes to substantial issues, I guess, when it comes down to getting those groups on site, the K-5 group and the 6-8 group, without making substantial changes to the building or taking a group off site, and having the instruction for at least a grade level or two happen away from this building. So those are the things that we kind of weigh right now, and that may move us from option 2 to option 3. It could very well do so, and I think that's actually one of the things that we really need to figure out over the course of the weekend. But when it comes down to it, just the space has been more of an issue than we had anticipated with the distance that we have to get for the people who are in the building. So Ms. Mason and Mr. Goodman and Mrs. Spakeen were working with in the K-8 group to try to actually set up some classrooms to see what that really looks like, and to see if we could actually do that there. And then, and with the high school, we didn't do it as much, because if we're bringing half of the group in at a time, we should be able to distance them relatively easily at that point. So those are the options that we keep working through. The space is going to be is definitely one of the determining factors, and to be quite honest, that could lead us into a spot where option 3 would end up being the best option. So those are some things just to consider, that we'll consider over the course of the weekend and get feedback from our staff. We sent out a draft plan to our staff today, and we'll get some feedback from them, and then make a final decision here coming into next week. So we did that. We did those pieces. We took a look at, I met with the Eau Claire superintendents. I met with the health department twice, other area superintendents. Connected with the board and emailed our process to the board for some feedback in terms of what they were looking at. So we met with one offsite location just to see if we could get people to that spot and back. And that was really about it. So at this point, we're trying to figure out, when we roll out the plan, how much information people need, and then we will roll that plan out on Monday. So that's the update as to where we are. Like I said, we go between option 2 and option 3, but as we get closer to Monday, in terms of the space issue, option 3 is more of a good look for us than it was a week and a half ago, just because of the space issues. So just to be transparent with that. The virtual piece is the other component that comes up really often. And the virtual piece, when it comes down to the 612 group, we're still looking at utilizing GradPoint. If you've decided on the 100% virtual option, if you've decided that I want to be off-site, my student wants to be off-site to start the year for sure and into the year, GradPoint at the 612 level is the direction that we're leaning. Having said that, we're still taking a look at any other options that could be available to us in terms of cost and implementation, and is it the right thing for kids. So that's what we do from a 612 perspective. The K5, the 4K through 5 is different, and because we don't have an online platform that's completely self-paced at that level. So we're looking into some self-paced platforms, but we're also looking into what it would look like for our staff to be involved in that delivery process. And the struggle that I have with that is the added work that it would put on our staff, in addition to the people that they have on site. So if we need to find a way to, we're looking at everything from, do we dedicate a staff member or multiple staff members to taking care of that? Do we have a live feed in a classroom? Would that be the way to go? Do we do we have, like I said, a program that we could just monitor at that point? We want to have our people connected to it in some capacity. I think I'm falling apart here. In some capacity. At the same time, we want to make sure that we're not creating double the work for our staff when it comes down to the number of kids who are looking at a virtual option. And so when we asked originally, we had about 10% of people said that they were interested in the full online virtual option when we did the original survey. The second survey that we sent out, the data came back a little bit less than that, but not substantially less than that, which leads me to two things. The first one is that the assessment is pretty accurate, but at the same time, there's not enough kids in that space to facilitate just having like to reduce the number in second grade or reduce the number in third grade, where we could spread them out more than we had intended originally. So we're still going to provide the opportunity for those groups that would like the virtual option. We're still trying to figure out what that would look like, and we will have staff members involved in that process from 4K through 5. I just don't know what it's going to look like right now. And like I said, it could be a live stream. It could be some dedicated lessons that we have a staff member take care of, if that's an add-on position, if it's connected to a position that we already have. We're still working through some of those things. So, but our staff would be involved in the 4K through 5 part. The 6 through 12 would be more of the grad point, with one of our staff members facilitating that process as well. So that's where we're at with the virtual component. And then the last thing that I want to talk to you, and then I'm just going to take questions the whole time. The last thing is the order that came from the governor yesterday in terms of wearing masks inside starting tomorrow. So up until yesterday, every conversation that we had regarding masks prior to yesterday was that it wasn't going to be a mandate. It was going to be encouraged, and we were going to ask people to wear a mask if they were within 6 feet and working individually with a student or a group of students or a teacher or whatever the case may be. And that's still how we feel about it. Having said that, the order definitely supersedes any plan that we have, but when the order moves on, that's the process that we still want to put in place. So we still want to make sure that we do. The most important thing for us is to distance kids. At the same time, we want to make sure that if we can't distance them, that we give them the opportunity to still work with people, but they would need to have a mask on at that time. At this point, up until September 28th, there is a mandate in terms of wearing a mask during the school day. So that's where we're at right now with that order, which then leads people to the question: can I start in a virtual option and then come back into school when there's less restriction? And the answer is yes. If you want to start your year in a virtual platform and then move into the school at a later date, you certainly can. Having said that, we're going to have some parameters set up in terms of when you can come back into the school, so we don't have somebody saying, well, I want to do virtual this week and next week, but I don't really want to do it the week after, and then the week after I might, but not this week. But then it just ends up being more of a logistical problem than we can really handle. So we need some consistency in it. So there would be a time where you could move yourself back into the classroom if that's what you chose, and that's where we're at. So that's certainly an option for you if you feel like it's restrictive in that regard. So the other thing that makes me think about is when we come out with our reopening on Monday. We come out with the reopening on Monday. It's called the Cricket Comeback, and in that Cricket Comeback documentation, we talk about not only how we're going to set up the areas, but what are we going to do in terms of the cleaning piece, what are we going to do in terms of the distancing piece, what are we going to do in terms of the education for students, in terms of general hygiene and where we want people, how to clean up after, what to clean up after, how are we using cleaning materials that are as safe as possible in terms of making sure that we get it clean but not be too abrasive to skin, and making sure that our filters are cleaned and we're getting the right amount of air into the building, and clean air into the building, and not obviously toxic, not only in terms of germ spread, but the chemicals that we put into the building as well. So those things are all on the front of our mind when it comes to making sure that we are in the right place to bring people into the building. So those are some things that are out there right now, and I think that's about all I've got, like, just on the update stuff. And I'm trying to provide with just some specifics. I had somebody ask me the other day, or after they watched the live stream, they're like, man, you said a lot, but I don't know if you really even said anything. You gonna be kissing any babies at the end of the thing too? So I'm like, you're probably right. So I'm just trying to provide at least something to make just to get some just some more information out, and most of that will come out on Monday when we feel really strongly about where we're at. And then on Thursday, I can go over the plan with everybody. But again, if you go back to the plan that's on the website, we waffle between 2 and 3 at the same time. 3 tends to be more of the direction at this point because of the limited space that we have in our spot right now. So I am going to jump on and see if I can find some of these comments. And if I can, then I'm going to answer as much as I can right away. Thank you so much for joining tonight. I mean, it's Friday night, and I promise I won't try to keep you too long, but I do want to get as much as I can out there. All right. Is there any thought to having high school waive electives for this year and not giving the credits? It would allow kids to focus on main course and not feel overwhelmed if it has to be virtual. That's a great question, Courtney, and I will bring that up to Brad, and I will have an answer for you on that, okay? Oh, you figured it. Oh, good. Oh, you figured that part out. Okay, great. If you have questions, please feel free to dump them in there, and I'll answer them the best I can, as much as I can, I guess, but I think those are the only updates that I had for you, but I'm willing to answer. Okay. What would happen if your child can't or won't wear a mask? I think we're going to end up finding that a lot, to be really honest, Jesse. There are going to be some kids that that we can't keep in masks, and are we spending more time logistically trying to keep them in a mask? And when it gets to the younger grade levels, what we really are trying to do the best that we can with still allowing them to play and be kids, because I think there's certainly an emotional component that we have to be very careful with if we're not allowing people to play together because of the stuff going on. I haven't really taken a real deep dive into what kind of disciplinary measure or anything like that. That's not even on my thought process at this point, but there will be situations like that, and I would look at the order from the governor and see if first of all if any person that you're talking about fits the exemption list, or what would need to happen if that was the case. If that was something that you were looking at. Mike was asking about the cancellation of the football season. At this point, honestly, my only knowledge, and now I'm starting to second guess myself, was that the season started September 7th, but I haven't heard anything beyond that. Can you do a blended grad point and a class? Right now, if you are invested in the 100% virtual option, we're asking to go through grad point, but there will be opportunities to do some stuff through Wisconsin Virtual School if you can't get the class through grad point. And then if there are things that we have on school that you couldn't get there, we thought about, like, what does band and choir look like? Or a Phi-Ed, a Phi-Ed credit to do an independent study, so there might be an opportunity for some of those things. But if people are going to the 100% online piece of it, we're asking them to start with grad point, and then if we need to supplement anything else, we would try to do that if we had the staffing to do so. How will we handle a positive COVID-19 result? So we have a process that will come out on Monday that just talks about how we're going to handle it, and just so you can take a look at what that's going to look like. It continues to obviously flux in terms of what we're going to do. So the thing that we do is the preventative piece of it, where we try to get the groups in the smallest cohorts that we can. So if there is a positive test, that the number of people that that it expands beyond is small. So if we're working in a middle or an elementary class and we have 12, let's say 18 kids in that class, even in that class, if they're working closely with another student, we're going to try to keep that group to the same 3 or 4 kids. So if there is a positive test within that group, then according to the health department from my conversations, it's not automatically goes to the whole class. that needs to be contact traced, but to the group that was with them for extended periods of time, and that's where they start with that. So if that's the case, then we would be notified from the health department that there was a positive COVID-19 case. Then we would, they may ask us who was in contact with that person. We would obviously tell them, and then they would build the case from there. So it wouldn't be an automatic out. It's it's at the discretion of the health department. If the frequently asked questions released from the governor states that if you observe someone not wearing a mask, you are to do nothing and assume they have a medical or other concern, is that going to be the stance at school? I'd really, Nick, I'd have to look into that, like in terms of making sure that we're consistent in that. I think there's a piece here that we really need to be cognizant of, and that is that we need to trust people. That's what we need to do. And if we trust that they're taking the order seriously, and we want to make sure, we're just trying to make sure that we can keep kids in school longer. And if we can't keep kids in school longer because there's been there's been the virus gets spread here, then we've got a bigger issue than having a couple people with it. But that's a good question. Julie had a question. Hold on a second. Okay. Can outdoor mask breaks be built into the day, especially middle and high school students where they don't have recess, so they can take off their masks and breathe some fresh air? Absolutely, Julie. It's a fantastic question, and the answer is yes. I can answer that one. That one I can answer. So yes, the answer is yes to that. All right, that's one. Good. I got one. Good. Next. Keep them coming. It's the right thing to do, because we were going to do that here, inside, is to just have time that they didn't have to be in a mask. Not only because I think it's better to make sure that you're not masked all the time, but at the same time, I shouldn't say it like that. I'm going to say it that way. Yeah, I believe it's better that they are, but at the same time, I think we're going to have a hard enough time keeping them on kids, for goodness sakes, It's just going to be a lot. Will siblings be on the same rotation? That's the intent, yes. Again, like I mentioned last week, maybe in my house, they may not want to be on the same rotation, but they will be on the same rotation. That's how we start. It was suggested that I play some music in between questions. I don't have any. Sorry. Keep the questions coming if you want. I'll be here until it doesn't. It's not until you get what you need out of it. So just keep asking questions if you want, and if it gets, too much pause on it, then we'll move on. That's fine. You can email me questions if you have any questions. If you have any other things you want to talk about. Thanks, Heather. We're trying. I wish we had I wish we had the perfect answers. I really do. I wish we had magic. Yeah, sorry, magic. Do I have my magic stuff? Of course I do. What do you mean? You needed to float this? So yeah, I wish we had, I think the more that we can just continue to talk about it, one of the things that I put in this Cricket comeback documentation is that we're going to get thrown a bunch of stuff, and there's going to be a time throughout the course of the year where we may have to exit the building. We just may have to. That's just how it works. But if we can develop some relationships early and make sure that we're connected to kids and connected to families, and know that we're trying to keep kids in school as long as we can, and because we know that their best learning environment is with the instructor in school with their peers, and really kind of connecting and learning from each other. That's what we know. So in doing that, we want to try to provide that environment the longest that we can before we're asked to exit, or before an order comes out that says we can't be here. So, and if we're in that spot, then we're going to hopefully. And I truly believe that our staff is in a position to be able to exit and then enter back in. It's not ideal. And anybody that tells you that they've got the perfect plan for this is lying, absolutely lying. But if we can be transparent enough to know that we're just going to do the best that we can and stay consistent, which means that there's going to be a little bit of transition to the when it comes to picking kids up and dropping kids off, because we have a very open building. And we've been trying to lock areas of the building down, which means that we'll probably be picking kids up outside of the building as opposed to inside of the building. So there's going to be a definite change in terms of what that looks like at the end of the day. So I just be prepared for what that's going to look like. And we have not decided what the grading component is going to be for the virtual piece. I don't believe that we're in that position where it's a pass-fail right now, but I will get that answer for you. Yeah, mindfulness or yoga, I could... which would, if it was mindfulness or yoga and I was participating, it would also be comedy. So laughter is good for the soul too, apparently. Keep them coming, keep them coming. We sent out the proposed plan or the the draft to our staff today, and we're looking for feedback from them throughout the course of the weekend. And the board has it. The administrative team did a great job of putting it together and just kind of going over it. And we'll continue to go over it after graduation tomorrow. Tomorrow's about those kids that are going to be on that field getting their diploma tomorrow. So that's all. It's all about them. Weather's going to hold out. We're going to have a good experience for them, and then we'll get to work on what goes on next. Laughter yoga, it's a thing. It's a thing, people. Keep them coming. Thank you to parents who have called. Thank you to parents who have emailed. And some of these conversations are really, I think when I start having the conversation with some parents about, like the virtual, the online component, we're having the conversation, and there are times that I feel like they're apologizing for wanting an online opportunity, and that please don't be frustrated by that, or don't be embarrassed by it at all. If your kids need that to start the year, then do that. I feel very strongly about the people in this building. I think they're incredible educators. I think the best opportunity for kids is in the building with our teachers. But if that's not the way it is for everybody, that's fine, right? We want to make sure that we provide the best opportunity for you. And honestly, I wish I had an answer today on what 4K through 5 was going to look like virtually. But I'm also not in a position where I'm willing to give our staff double the work for that component. There's got to be a better way for it. And if they're completely invested, not only in the kids that are in front of them, but all of the other mandates that they have going on right now, and then I'm going to tell them, well, in addition to that, I need you to make a couple videos for the people who aren't here, then that's going to be a problem. Like, that's not, I don't believe in that. So we have to figure out a way that we can streamline what that looks like. And that might be a live look. That might be, somebody else taking on that role for multiple grade levels. It might not just be one person per grade level. It might be one person for 3 grade levels, depending on the number of kids we have at each level. So we're going to put our people in the best position. And I know you all want, if you don't have the online, or if you don't have the in-person, you do want our people. Everybody wants our people. That's what happens. That's a great problem to have, but we also don't want to stress them to the place that they can't perform when they're in school with the kids who are in front of them. First question is, when would parents have to make a decision and as to what option? So the only option, Shay, would be if you'd be choosing the online option That's the question. So if you're choosing the 100% online option, I'll have a date for you in the email that we send out, because I can't, I'm not going to commit to that, because I want to know what it's going to look like first, and I want to know if we have people that are willing to. We have to talk to our staff to say what would it look like for you when it comes to the online, because if it's an online piece of having a live stream, it's different than having an online piece of an asynchronous lesson with mini lessons and everything that goes along with it. So we may need a little time on that, but by the middle of August, we'd probably like to know where everybody's at when it comes to committing to the virtual component. Right now, we're in that spot where it doesn't impact class lists, because it's 2 or 3 per grade level right now. There's 4 and 5 in one grade level right now, but other than that, we're looking at 2 or 3 per grade level. So it doesn't impact. We can't move all the kids to 1 or to 2 classes and then leave one with a smaller number plus the virtual, because there's not enough people that would facilitate that. Sounds good, Tammy. I'll see what I can do. Bob Ross yoga. Let's do that. Wait, that would include art for me too. Man, we're just putting me in a position where people are gonna laugh every time then. Thanks a lot for that, people. Okay, additional evaluations for virtual kids to make sure. Will there be additional evaluations for virtual kids to make sure they are not losing ground? I think we'll have somebody connected to them to monitor their progress, regardless if it's an online live version or if it's an asynchronous opportunity. So we would have people invested in making sure that they kept up or were in the right spot. But again, that may not be the teacher that's designated to their room in 2nd grade or 3rd grade. That may be somebody else that we're utilizing, because we want to make sure that everybody, that the workloads are acceptable to our staff, to be very honest. That's a great question. Jesse asked, do you think those numbers are going to change with the new mandate? I don't know if they're going to. I think they will change a little bit. I don't think that they'll change substantially to get us to a place where we are going to have so many less kids in school that we can move a grade level of 3 classrooms into 2 classrooms and then have 1 virtual classroom. I don't know if that's going to be the case at all, but if it is, then we would handle it at that point. So we're going to do everything we can to give you what you need when it comes to the virtual piece. If you want the virtual piece, we'll absolutely do everything we can to get that going. And I'm going to be really honest about it. It's not going to be perfect to start. None of it's going to be perfect. We're going to do the best that we can. And I lean on incredible educators in this building that are willing to do anything for kids. So if that's what we have to lean on and not have the process perfect, man, I'll take that every single day. Here we have, it's about 7:05, so I'll take a couple more questions if anybody has them. And then what we'll end up doing is we'll be looking at Monday as the day to get this out. Like I said, our staff has the proposal that we drafted and what we want to do within those options. So on Monday, I know that our staff will get back to us over the course of the weekend, and they've been putting in a lot of extra time too. Not only a lot of extra time in giving us their feedback, and they will continue to do so, because once we come up with a plan, our staff will be very invested in what it looks like in terms of the logistical piece of it. But not only have they taken on, giving feedback and everything, but also there's definitely an added level of stress for everybody right now. So we're just going to try to do the best we can and try to keep everybody stressed. Well, obviously we got, Bob Ross yoga and meditation, so that might work. All right, hold on a second. 5th graders, Zoom meeting. So Amanda's question is about could the fifth graders and under do a Zoom meeting and then have some work prepared that could be done at home just so they can have some normalcy taught by the teacher. This is that would be absolutely one of the options when we're talking about being able to live stream into a classroom. We've been looking at a couple of different devices that would help that. I think one of the things that I struggled with when we originally talked about is just having a live stream rolling in a classroom can be a little bit nerve-wracking for a couple different reasons, and I want to be really cognizant of that. Not only from a teacher perspective, but we also have to remember that there's 18 other kids there, and if a kid's having a really bad day, that doesn't need to be relived for a year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or whatever, because it was online. So we don't need that. All right. Great questions tonight. So what I plan on doing now is that we'll put the documentation out on Monday. And then we'll also have hopefully a frequently asked questions area of the website dedicated to some things that we've been asked already when it comes to the proposed plan. And then on Thursday of next week, we will we may move it up a day, just to make sure we can get that stuff out. We may move that up to Wednesday just to get those questions answered, so you're not waiting on it. So I'll give you a couple of days to digest it, and then come in probably on Wednesday to talk about any concerns that you have or any questions that you have about the plan, and go from there. So that's the plan at this point. Last question that Trish has: would our internet support everyone live streaming at once? The answer to that, honestly, is probably no, but we wouldn't set it up that way. It may be that each grade level would have one designated area that would be the connection for the live Zoom or the live interaction for the people who are not there. So we wouldn't all be live streaming at the same time. Actually, you know what? We probably actually could, now that I think about it, because of the number of people doing it. I think that we could probably handle it, but I don't think it would be taxed. The broadband wouldn't be taxed that much if we only had one classroom per grade level. So great questions. Yeah, Shay was kind of responded to that question. I'm more concerned with the at-home piece of the live streaming, because it's going to get caught up, and if you're using the hotspot, it's not designed for live streaming. That makes it a little bit more difficult. And let's be really honest, when we talked last year, we really didn't want too many synchronous activities, because a lot of our kids were taking care of their brother or sister, and then they were getting to their learning later, and then we wouldn't be able to facilitate it like that. So something to consider. All right, everybody. I think that's all I got right now. Thank you so much for continuing to come and have conversations here. And again, it's Joe Sanfilippo at fallcreek.k12.wi.us, 877-1000 right to my office. Feel free to just reach out. If you think you might have a question but you don't know if you want to ask it, ask it. Every time, ask it. Because I'll tell you, you're probably not the only person with that question. And the number of times that I've heard something and then I say, oh yeah, I heard that from somebody else, and you hear this little sigh of relief on the other side of the phone going, whew, I'm glad I asked it then. Well, I'm glad you asked it too. So continue to ask the question, and hopefully we'll get to a place where we can all move forward together. Okay? All right, everybody. That's all I got. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Class of 2020, we're so proud of you. You've taken on so many things, and tomorrow's your day. So we're really looking forward to seeing you tomorrow, and just have a wonderful day. Just smile. Just smile and enjoy, and be with your friends. Okay? All right, everybody. Take care. Go Crickets.